Arnold Kachaturov got into journalism to provide his fellow Russians with a kind of news not seen on state-controlled channels. Then Russia invaded Ukraine and imposed new media restrictions that upended the Moscow-based reporter's career.
Every independent media in Russia was thinking how to continue, and because they were all blocked in a few days after the war started.
Kachaturov is one of more than 1,500 Russian journalists estimated to be living in exile. This year, his news outlet, Novaya Gazeta Europe, opened a third European office in Paris. It's a two-person operation, sharing a co-working space like this one, which provides offices and other resources to the exile community. Kachaturov covers European and Russian news for audiences inside and outside his home country, including the latest on the war in Ukraine. Inside Russia, the topic is heavily censored. Social media is crucial to his work.
It's indeed very hard to get information from Russia, not only because we're not physically there, but also because we are an undesirable organization, which means for the people who talk with us, it's a real danger.
Novaya Gazeta Europe is one of dozens of media outlets that Moscow has labeled undesirable, a designation that puts its staff and sources in and out of Russia at risk of legal action and imprisonment.
It always has been difficult for journalists, independent journalists in Russia, but the situation is getting worse since the war in Ukraine, with the whole military censorship. You can be put in prison for anything.
To help exiled Russian independent journalists broadcast their reports, Reporters Without Borders launched Svoboda, a satellite package that includes Novaya Gazeta Europe and other news channels. Supported by the European Union, it aims to reach several million households in Russia.
The television can be a powerful tool for Russian people to change their mind about the war, at least to have the facts, real facts, instead of propaganda.
Russian journalist and analyst Galia Ackerman says it was even more difficult accessing independent news in Soviet times. Living in Moscow decades ago, she and her husband listened to foreign radio late at night when there was less jamming.
My parents never came to listen with us. They didn't care, because for them it was simpler not to know.
That's one reason she's skeptical that the new satellite operation will make much of a difference inside Russia.
Most of the population, I'm afraid, do not want to know, because it's unbearable to know. It's unbearable. Russia is committing a big continuous crime. Crime against Ukraine, but also crime against its own people.
Kachaturov is optimistic that democracy and free expression will one day come to Russia. But first, he says, he and other exiled journalists need to prepare for a long struggle. Lisa Bryant, VOA News, Paris.